Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Apex Motorsport. And we've had some major breaking news today. And that is seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton will join Ferrari next season for 2025 in a multi-year contract. It's news that sort of sends shockwaves around the world of Formula One. There's been rumors of Hamilton going to Ferrari for many years, but this is now actually real, and it's still quite hard to believe. Join me to discuss it today is, of course, Ryan Caldwell and Tom Toseland. Ryan, is
Right.
this the biggest F1 news in recent times?
Definitely in the most recent while, but it's probably the biggest since we had the greatest news of all time that Michael Massey would leave the FIA after his biggest blunder, from back in that good old championship day. Got to keep the streak going.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, probably one of the biggest news is since we've brought Fernando Alonso back. That was pretty big too at the time.
Yeah.
Driver swap news is not really that big. This is probably the biggest thing to happen in F1 since they brought in the Halo.
Yeah, that is true. It was a weird sort of day because I woke up this morning to, I think it was Sky Sports News tweeting out that basically this was happening, not a case of it's heavily rumored, because we've seen this before. Outlets reporting that certain drivers go into this team, but I remember the tweet was Lewis Hamilton will join Ferrari, and it was no possibly it's happening. So Tom, what was your reaction whenever? Well, first of all, when you heard this news this morning, and then within the past sort of few hours that it actually has now been officially confirmed.
Um, I think I saw like one of those rumor accounts put out, maybe like it was either early this morning or late last night, and I thought it's probably just one of those. It's one of those things. It's just like it just comes up, you see it, and you're like, oh, yeah, nah. But then yeah, obviously this morning, Sky report it, so like obviously it's going to be pretty likely to be true if Sky reporting it. So yeah, no, the reaction is I was kind of at uni at the time, so it wasn't really like a big one because I was focusing on a lot of stuff and it wasn't really it was kind of at the back of my head, but it was something you do. You appreciate it's huge. It's one of those big sporting stories. I think really across any sport, everyone knows who he is, and it's like I don't know. It's like Michael Jordan leaving Chicago. It's like it's something you'd never. It's not something you'd ever think would happen, but it has in this case, and it's just. I mean, I think it really shows the sway Ferrari have over the rest of the field. Just the name alone can get a driver over to them, and I think we're really in for an exciting couple of months now because it's going to be it's just gonna be off-season madness now. Anyone can end up anywhere now, and I mean the question is who is going Mercedes? Where's Science going? And yeah, it's going to be a real mix-up. Like with him gone from Mercedes, there's going to be a real mix-up of the grid from. And the thing is, we went from last season where it was basically the grid's the same for this year, and then now probably going into 2025, it's going to be unrecognizable.
Yeah, exactly. As you said there, the grid for this season is the same as it ended last year, and as we thought there was going to be a fairly quiet, silly season because the grid's set for this year. We haven't even started testing. The first car launch, official car launch, is tomorrow. We've already seen the McLaren livery, but Haas's launch tomorrow, so that's going to start the new season. But we're already going into this with a storyline that's going to carry the full season. Is that Lewis Hamilton will no longer be a Mercedes at the end, which could create an interesting dynamic between him, Russell, and Toto Wolff going forward this season. Ryan, just your reaction to the news. When did you sort of first hear about it, and just how surprised you that this actually is a thing?
I could reenact it for you, but I'll just give you the gist. I was in work and I was walking to go out to get some parts for a wee car, and then one of the boys shouts over, "Did you see Hamilton's leaving for Ferrari?" I was like, "Aye, right, get yourself on. What are you on about?" He says, "No, I'm not joking. I'm not joking." I says, I walk on into the parts store, and then I'm sitting there because he says he got an alert on the phone, pops up Sky News, ping, but I didn't get it. And then I'm sitting there, I'm on Twitter, and I'm like, Sky Sports F1, nothing. Sky Sports News, nothing. I'm like, it's just another thing. I check 5 minutes later. Oh damn. That's really happening. Wow. Where's Carlos going? That was like my second thought. Oh, that was I was quite dumbfounded, to be honest. I didn't honestly think this would happen. It was always a thing that he had discussed previously. He always said, as many of years, his time's running short. He doesn't see any career opportunities at Ferrari at this stage because of the partnership and pairing of Sainz and Leclerc. They were both in pretty good contract deals. Everyone was thinking Hamilton will probably pack it in by then, by the time their contract's up. But he has now signed on as you said, a multi-year. So that's 2025, 2026 guaranteed, but who knows if there's onwards. That it's actually mental. And but what gets me is that's going into the new regulations. Does he really put all those apples in that basket and trust that Ferrari actually know what they're doing with a regulation change?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that Hamilton has took a gamble with a new team going into the new regulations.
That's very true.
I think as well as marking the end of his time at the Mercedes work team, it marks the end of his journey with the Mercedes engine, because we all know about his 6 titles that he won at Mercedes, but his first title was with McLaren in 2008 with a Mercedes powered car, and this is him going to Ferrari for the first time, which, based on Ferrari's recent results, it does sound like an interesting move.
He ain't ready. Reliability.
Yeah. But we don't know. Ferrari could have basically next season write it off and put all focus on to 2026, given that we expect Red Bull to be the dominant force once again. But I'll just quickly run through the statements that both teams have released. Ferrari's short and sweet, straight to the point. Maranello, 1st of February 2024, Scuderia Ferrari is pleased to announce that Lewis Hamilton will be joining the team in 2025 on a multi-year contract. That short and sweet tells you everything you need to know. Mercedes have released a slightly longer press release. I'll not read it all, but the title is Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 Team, Lewis Hamilton to part ways. Basically says that the part ways at the end of the 2024 season, and that Lewis has activated a release option in the contract announced last August, and this season will therefore be his last driving for the Silver Arrows. The news brings to an end what is currently a 17-year-long relationship in F1 with Mercedes-Benz, an 11-year-long partnership with the Works team. And then Toto Wolff went on to comment saying that in terms of a team driver pairing, our relationship with Lewis has been one of the most successful the sport has seen. But for now, we still have one season to go. We're focused going on race and deliver a strong 2024. And then Lewis's comments saying he had an amazing 11 years to the team. He's so proud of what we have achieved together. The Mercedes have been a part of his life since he was 13. It's a place where he grew up, and making the decision to leave was one of the hardest decisions he's ever had to make, and that he is 100% committed to delivering the best performance that he can this season and making his last with the Silver Arrows one to remember. It's an interesting one, because obviously we don't know the full story of what's happened, if there's anything that's gone on behind the scenes, if this is something that's been pre-planned, if that break the release clause in the contract was if Ferrari come in for a bid that he's allowed to go. It was a 2-year deal that was announced in August, and that was basically to secure his this season and next season with the team. Tom, do you think there could be any sort of possibility now this season that the Hamilton, we've seen him in the past, he's always had this attitude where he doesn't want to give up. He always is trying his best and will want to win races, even though if he's out of the title fight. It's unlikely he's going to be in the title fight this year, given what we've seen and heard about the W15. Apparently, it's not great. He has been testing this week. Do you think there would be anything sort of in the back of his head that, he won't be as committed? He says he's going to be 100% committed, but do you still think that this move and will be playing in the back of his head that, if a Ferrari comes behind him on track, he won't want to crash in the side of Leclerc, because he has to think long term rather than short term now?
I think that's an interesting question. But yeah, I think let me just think. I think he's going to have a lot to think about. I think if you're Mercedes this year, going to that point of view of it, I think you prioritize Russell now. and you don't prioritize Hamilton. So I think if you're in Hamilton's situation, he doesn't have to prioritize the team. He will, I think, because obviously I don't know why you wouldn't after you've been there for so long. But I think, yeah, there will be times where he's lenient to the Ferraris on circuit. Maybe I think he'll be close to near the end of the season if he does. But I mean, it's a brand he's been with now since, well, in Formula One since 2007. So it's yeah, he can be loyal. He can show respect to Ferrari on circuit, but with a team, with a brand he's been with for so long now, I don't think he'll want to end that on a bitter note. So I think he'll want to represent the brand right until the very end, and I think he will. I think he will just be as harsh to the Ferraris as he usually would be, but yeah, I think there's always that to think about in the back of his mind. He's got to think about how he does want to play stuff, and I think that's a really interesting thing. I think it's a really hard question to answer because I think it's down to him alone to decide that, and I think it's one of the things we're going to find out this season is how how he changes as a driver, because I think this is one of the most probably one of the most uncertain periods of his career now, if that makes sense. Like, obviously we know where he's going and he's still in the sport, but it's uncertain how he's going to approach it. It's not the same approach he's gone and done year in, year out, where he believes, well, this year will be a world championship year, this year will be a world championship year, this year I'm going to win, this year I'm going to do this, because with the team, because his priority isn't obviously going to be fully Mercedes. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he does approach that. If he goes for the side of, this team has taken, well, basically given me everything for the past 11 years, or the athlete in him takes over and he starts kind of maybe drawing himself back a little bit near the end of the season, maybe just letting the Ferraris off with some stuff. But I think from how he's always spoke about it, I think it's a situation where he's gonna be loyal to them till the end. He's gonna make sure that he leaves them on a really high note, because I mean it's a team that's given him 103 wins, 175 front row starts. You can't just, I don't think you can throw that away by then just being nice to the Ferraris on circuit, because I think that is a bit of a pie to the face kind of thing. I still got to have that respect for the team to fight for every position, basically.
And Tom, this is just creating an option for potentially a hypercar seat in WEC going forward, maybe?
What, with Ferrari?
Yeah, potentially.
I mean, I love that. That'd be great.
If Valentino Rossi, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton trio for Le Mans, that would bring the fans in for sure.
That would be fantastic, just unbelievable. But I doubt it. But I mean, if he's up for it, bring it on. That'd be great.
And then
but
you can always go back to McLaren then to IndyCar.
Yeah, and he's and the thing is, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go to this hypercar team and I might have a chance at Le Mans. They've won Le Mans, so I mean, it is. If he wants to give it a crack, he's got the cars right there. It's just I mean, I don't think one of the hypercar drivers would appreciate it, but you could probably even put him in the AF Corsa effort as well, potentially. But yeah, no, actually, that's an interesting question, because it's not a situation where it's like he's in an iffy car in the series. He's in that's a top car. So yeah, I think that's a possibility.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Ryan, one of the big things about this move is obviously Carlos Sainz will no longer be racing for Ferrari. He's confirmed that in a separate statement, and the team have confirmed that it will be Leclerc and Hamilton going forward. We believe that contract negotiations with Sainz had broke down at some point, and he was told he's not going to be offered a new contract. And obviously now they stepped in and got Hamilton. But where do you think that leaves Carlos Sainz? Because we know that there is reports of him being the number one option for Audi whenever they come in 2026. But do you think this could potentially, even without a race seat for 2025, or could you see him potentially going to Mercedes and what would be a street swap?
What I can see happen there is Zhou and Bottas will probably, depending on Bottas's results, they'll probably still maintain their seats, I would imagine, although 2 years is still quite a good bit away. My most likely theory of where he could possibly get a seat for 2025, because most drivers' contracts are up, pretty much nearly everyone's contracts are coming up again. I can see Fernando saying, well, new regulations, do I really need to sit through and try to prove everything over again? He could possibly leave Aston Martin, or you never know. Daddy's cash could kick Daddy's son out, and we could see a double change for Aston. That'd be quite cool. And just might so happen Carlos could slip in there. We still haven't spoke about the Mercedes point. I do also feel that they may give Mick Schumacher a chance at filling in that second seat alongside George Russell. However, I think it's highly unlikely at the same time. There's a chance, but I can't see it. He didn't have enough time to prove himself at Haas. But I'm going off on a tangent here. The original point was Carlos Sainz. Carlos, Aston Martin is probably might be an okay choice if they manage to pull off and execute a pretty decent season this time round, which is pretty likely too. Fernando being his idol, I'd say he's pretty much completed every step he's needed to. He's done the McLaren, he's done the Ferrari. Time to go do the Aston. So
Yeah,
why not? Why not? Yeah, poor Carlos. His feelings are here. Not here. He'll never return here. No driver wants to return here. Not even Daniel Kvyat at the Torpedo wants to come back here.
Well,
Oh dear.
it is an option. Yes.
I was going to say, sorry, while we're on like driver transfer talk kind of thing, I wanted to like ask thoughts of like, would you put Frederick Vesti straight into the Mercedes seat?
I don't think so. I think if Mercedes are going to go for a junior, they'll hope and pray that Andrea Kimi gets a super license this year. They're taking a big risk putting him straight into F2 for a start.
Yeah.
But now he's already being linked to a seat with one of the top F1 teams. He's an incredible talent. He's got so much potential. Do think they might be slightly rushing him, but people are saying he's the next Max Verstappen. So Mercedes, what have they got to lose, really? If they're not going to be in the title fight, you might as well give a youngster a chance. But
yeah,
I don't see Vesti. I think the only possibility of him ever joining the grid is with the likes of Williams. I think if you're talking more about who could replace him, I think the prime contenders are current F1 drivers: Esteban Ocon, Alexander Albon. Albon the more likely. Ocon's got a great relationship with Toto Wolff. So he was, Ocon was a Mercedes junior, heavily linked, and he gets on well with Toto. Alex Albon, I feel like would deserve the seat given his performances for Williams, but whether or not Mercedes would want that given his past with Red Bull, if you've got a driver who still will know many people in Red Bull, potentially their conflict of interest there, and then you've got Hamilton who's joined Ferrari, who will be able to share all the secrets from this year. It sort of put Mercedes in the back foot. But yeah, your point on Vesti, not yet. I don't feel like Mercedes will go for him. Ryan, do you agree with that? Can you see Vesti stepping, or do you think Mercedes will look a little bit more experienced? Because you did mention Mick Schumacher, but do you think they might look at the current grid?
Ultimately, what I think it comes down to is people are getting contracts renewed. So if there is 2 drivers or 3 drivers that don't get contracts renewed and are replaced by juniors, there's 3 probably pretty talented drivers. I don't know who. Anything can happen this year because whenever it's a mad season where everyone's contracts are pretty much expiring, nobody ever knows what's going to happen. Sure, we've just had Hamilton leaving Mercedes, which no one was going to expect. So we're set up for a good silly season this year. It's either they'll go with someone, as you say, that has the experience, has the racecraft, knows the circuits, knows the feeling of Formula One cars in general, compared to someone who's coming in from F2, who has to get used to the power, has to get adjusted to the G forces, has to understand that your racing line that you've known from Formula 2 and Formula 3 is going to be nowhere near what you have to do in Formula 1. Everything is a lot shorter and it comes at you a lot faster, especially the wall if you really mess it up. Or, as I said, it could come down to simply simulator times. Whoever is the fastest across a multitude of different, I don't know, a list of different things they're looking to look at in their perfect next second driver. They could just look for another Valtteri Bottas, essentially, if George manages to absolutely dominate that car. They could be just looking at another guy to help secure points. But they need strength. They do need strength, especially if Hamilton's leaving. He has been the cornerstone for that team for the last 8 years, winning championship after championship after championship after championship with his best man beside him. Apart from Rosberg, we'll forget about that. That was a touchy season. That a good old 2017,
16.
Dang it! Every time,
So close. So
every
close.
time. It was 17 when Bottas came into the team. Why do I forget that? It rhymes. 17 Bottas in the team. I keep forgetting that. What was I saying there? Dang it! And I've lost my train of thought. I'm in trouble.
Well, I'll jump in with you mentioned drivers out of contract, and there's a lot of drivers out of contract at the end of 2024. So I'll run through every driver's current contract, because if we've learned anything today and from the past, contract expiry dates means absolutely nothing in the world of Formula One if you got enough money behind you. Because if Hamilton didn't have this release clause in the contract, I would have expected, Ferrari would have had to buy him out of the contract, which would have been very costly. Although their share price did rise something like 7 billion today, so I feel like they would have had enough money to do that. It's partly due to the Hamilton news, but also because they released sort of like some like financial data was released. That was always going to happen anyway.
Merchandising is going to go crazy.
Yeah, big time. But before we talk about that aspect of it, contracts. So Verstappen's is out in 2028. He's not leaving Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Perez is up at the end of the season, so there's an option there for signs. This is basically any drivers who could potentially go to Mercedes or have signs replacing them. So as much as you said, Ryan, it's unlikely he'll go back. If he wants to go to a top team, signs as a good second driver.
Ricardo.
Yeah, that's the option. Go for it, Tom.
I was gonna say I think he's gonna go somewhere he's number one. Science. I think he's good enough to be a number one driver. I would maybe controversially, I think he probably should have been number one at Ferrari, because I feel like he was more consistent than Leclerc was over over the seasons he's been there. I feel like he can. I feel like you can rely on him more during the race than Leclerc to not throw it in the wall. So I feel like if you were Ferrari, I'd back him over Leclerc personally.
But here's the question: before we go into contracts, through this one to you, Ryan, does Sainz deserve to lose a seat? Because I don't think he does.
No. He has been on par with Leclerc, if not at times better. The two have been as they would fluctuate between each other, where one would be good one weekend and then the next weekend would be pretty bad, and then the week after that, oh look, there's Leclerc. What happened, Carlos? I pinned it in the wall. Dang it! It was always in and out between them two throughout the season, and then eventually Carlos did manage to pick up an edge in that second half after the summer break. He didn't deserve to lose it this quickly. I'd say if these negotiations had have started, if they started in May, June time, after we've had them first couple of races, and the first maybe 5-6 races, and the results aren't good, then you've got pretty good grounds to go against, saying, hey, things aren't good here. You need to sort your stuff out because we're booting you. That's but at the same time, it's the same as people say NFL or basketball and whatever. If you just ain't good enough, or you just ain't bringing in the goods or whatever they're looking for, or whatever your targets are, you're showing the door and you're being subbed out for someone who's just as good.
Okay, so they just moving on, expanding. Basically, I think going back to science, I think he's been not like too under Leclerc, because this year he only finished 6 points off of Leclerc in the championship. All that being, he did get a race win, so you'd probably expect him to be higher. But then if you go back to his first year with Ferrari, he beat Leclerc in the championship, but by all maths, don't fail me now. 5.5 points in the championship he beat him by in 2021. Then Leclerc beat him last year, and then it's only 6 points this year. I don't think it's like
A whole half
that's
point.
not a sign of a driver that's like much worse than your lead driver, if you get what I'm saying. I feel like his there's a driver in there that's just as quick as Leclerc. So I don't know. It's a bit risky by Ferrari, because I know like Hamilton's, I think he's 39 now, isn't he? I think 39 or maybe 38. I might
39, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, he's late 30s, and the thing is, you had two young drivers there, two quick young drivers there, and the thing was, I think either of them could have taken. Actually, I know I said science earlier, but I think realistically, I think either of them could have took them to a world title. But yeah, there's a bit of that kind of unknown now with bringing Hamilton in, because much longer he's going to have pace, because it's not guaranteed he's going to be as quick as he is as quick as he is now when he's Alonso's age, because there's always different points where drivers kind of fall off. So it's a bit of a gamble by Ferrari, but it'll be interesting to see how it works, because we know it hasn't worked before. It didn't work with Vettel. It didn't work with Prost in the 90s. So there's every chance it doesn't work now with Hamilton. So I think I've kind of gone into a different point now, but yeah, I think having a driver like Sainz there might have been more beneficial in a way, because now there's a bit of an unknown and we don't know how this is all going to play out.
Well, I don't think Hamilton would have went to Ferrari if he was told he's going to be the number 2 driver. So yeah. I think there's have to be some form of.
But the thing is, Leclerc wouldn't have re-signed if he was told he was the number 2 driver. So
that is true.
Yeah.
Are they going to be joint number ones?
Does that work?
I don't think it does. If you want to win a world championship, I don't think it does.
You have to pick one.
But,
yeah.
But would it work if they go, well, first 6 races of the season, fight them out amongst yourselves, and if one driver wins 5 races, they're the clear number 1 for the rest of the season?
Yeah.
I don't think that will work, because you've either got Charles Leclerc, who is the golden child of Ferrari, who they've been bigging up for years, all of a sudden potentially being shown up by the time he gets into Ferrari, a 40-year-old who, yes, may be a 7-time world champion, but hasn't won a race since December 2021, just before obviously Abu Dhabi. So that would have got him as 8th, but he hasn't won since then. And I still think Hamilton needs to get over the mental aspect of what happened. He lost the title because he hasn't been the same since.
And I think the thing is, going with mental aspects, how does this affect Leclerc's driving now? Because I think going into this year, if the car's there this year for them too, they've got to win the title this year. Because if Leclerc or Sainz, or probably more Leclerc, let's focus on Leclerc at this point. Sainz, it's maybe his last opportunity. This might be the last time, if the car's competitive, that he can win a world title. So he's got to be at the races. He's got to be ready to go on a championship hunt if he gets the opportunity. And then we're going to Leclerc. I think Leclerc to have some, I can't think of the word, some kind of not grip, but some kind of like grip on the team next season. I think that he needs a really, really strong season this year. Because if that doesn't come, he's not. There's no guarantee that they'll treat him as the driver they've treated him until this point. There'll be no guarantee he'll be number one if this season's a complete. Well, we don't see any improvement. One, if this season's a complete failure, and two, if we don't see any improvement. If he's still like leading races or in random practice sessions going off in places, I think there's no way they can push. There's no way they can get behind him, and it'll probably they'll end up switching straight to Hamilton. So it'll be interesting. I think, yeah, it's do or die now for Charles Leclerc, I think, this year.
Yeah, let's go back to where he potentially could go and who could potentially replace Hamilton at Mercedes. So we mentioned neither Red Bull driver is likely, and nor is Sainz potentially going to Red Bull. George Russell has a contract that runs until the end of next season, so he's going to stay with the team. Yeah, Sainz potentially could go into that mark, although it doesn't. Yeah, I can't see how it doesn't separate me. Leclerc obviously 7 more seasons. Sainz, he's not going to Ferrari because he's just been kicked out of the team. The McLaren, look, I'll actually come back to McLaren because there's a couple interesting points there, but we know Lance Stroll's on a rolling contract with Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso contract expires at the end of 2024, apparently. So there's the option there. He could potentially leave as well or retire. Both Alpine drivers are out of contract at the end of 2024. Both Williams drivers are out of contract.
All French team, that ain't changing.
No. I hate saying this. Steak F1 team. Both drivers are out. Yeah. It'll get worse, don't worry.
Wait. It's his time. It's Nico Hulkenberg. The opportunity's there now. Hamilton's gone. He's gone. And now their second choice for 2013, Nico Hulkenberg. Straight in you go. There you are. We've done it.
Will Toto Wolff deliver on his promise to give Romain Grosjean a drive in the Mercedes?
Don't know.
Oh, I hope not.
Get rid of Boone Coast, Challenger Racing. Go out you get. And Lamborghini straight in the Mercedes.
Well, we know both how do you call it? Both past drivers out as well. And then Visa Cash App RB, the worst name in F1.
V-Carb.
Yeah. Both their drivers' contracts are up as well. So there's loads of pretty much the entire grid, bar the McLarens, Hamilton, Russell, and Verstappen is up next season. So silly season is going to get very silly, and this is just kicking it off. But both McLaren drivers have long-term contracts. Lando Norris's is 2026 with I think it's a long-term deal. It's unspecified, but it's at least 2 years. And Oscar Piastri has a contract until 2026 as well. Going back to previous podcast episodes before I come to you, I've said many times I think Norris is a potential replacement for Hamilton and Mercedes when he retires. Obviously, I didn't expect Hamilton to go to Ferrari, and one thing it does, it means that Hamilton's definitely going to have 3 more years in F1, whereas we knew he was going to have 2 with Mercedes, but now he's got 1 more with Mercedes and at least 2 more with Ferrari. But could you see, and I'll start around with you in this one, could you see Norris potentially going to Mercedes, or do you think Piastri has put enough, showed enough to potentially get that, or do you think that's just, given that both have signed long-term contracts, maybe McLaren has some intel, and that's why they tied, especially Norris, down to a long-term contract?
That's what I was going to say, because I guarantee Norris probably would not have signed that contract or have agreed to every term he has agreed on if he had have known that Hamilton was guaranteed a seat at Ferrari, because I think he's secretly not admitted that he wants to be in the Mercedes, but he says how great the powertrain is, and he said he likes the feel of the car, how the way it performs. That's about 40% of that's Mercedes stuff. Realistically, power units and MGUH, MGUK, the overall package is it's power in his car is Mercedes. Why would you not want the works team that has, all the advantages of their own technologies? Yes, they've had their problems last year and being stupid and designing a completely different aerodynamic design compared to every other team who surpassed them in every milestone. But they are starting to come back. Mercedes just has a nice ring to it. For some reason, I can picture Lando with his big curly hair, his big, nice, shiny silver arrow overall, whatever, race suit with the wee red collar. You can just almost imagine it. But it ain't happening, guys, because he's been locked down by Zach Brown. Ha, that rhymed. Yeah, Big Zach must have been talking to Big Fred and said, what's going on here, Fred? What are we doing? And Fred's like, I don't know. I'm just looking to steal Hamilton. It's good. It's good.
I'm just seeing actually here
Good
from
fun.
Derek Bynum on Twitter, who previously has worked with Race Fans, ITV, very well respected journalist. But she said that she was hearing that Lewis Hamilton went paintballing with the Mercedes crew today and informed them that he would be leaving the team at the end of the season. A classy act from a classy driver. Tom, it's
Guess what?
transfer
I'm leaving.
deadline day. Yeah, it's transfer deadline day in the world of football. This is the biggest story, given that Sky Sports News has spent most of the day talking about this rather than Keith and Moore going to Cardiff City or whatever. It's been a dreadful day of football news. But do you think that Hamilton, the way he's left, because I've seen also reports that he only informed Toto Wolff yesterday. Do you think that this is something that maybe has been going on for a while? Because on the F1 show that Sky Sports F1 showed earlier, Craig Slater said that he believes it's been a move that has been in the works for a little while, or at least just been talks, because we know John Elkann, the Ferrari, I think, CEO, is good friends with Lewis. They met several times. Do you think this has been something that's been brewing for a little while?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I think there could have been something there. I mean, they obviously known each other for a while because they worked they worked together in GP2, I believe. So yeah, I think there's something good have been brewing there. There's always been rumors since I think around the summer period. There was kind of stuff that came out that said he might have been speaking to Ferrari. And then he's always said over the years that even though it was kind of like a thing where it was like, it's sad it hasn't happened, but I would have loved to have raced for Ferrari. I think maybe it's always been something that has been kind of at the back of his mind a little bit, but as he's getting closer to the end of his career, does he really want to pass up an opportunity to drive for such a prestigious brand, I suppose? And yeah, it's something I think that it's probably something that's weighed heavily on him, and he's probably thought that this is his last opportunity to really have a go at that and see what it would be like. And I think from his point of view, yeah, I think even if they haven't been speaking for a long time, I think it is going to be a thing where it's something like that's going to have been playing on his mind at least the last 3 years, maybe, because yeah, as I said, he potentially has a while left, but not necessarily. So it's something to kind of tick off the bucket list, I suppose. So yeah, I feel like if the talks haven't been going for a while, I think it's always been. I think yeah, in his head, it's always been a consideration. It's always something he's had to factor in, and yeah, now and finally he's gone for it, basically.
I think a large part of this is he doesn't want to regret never having the opportunity, given that he has had multiple offers. Jenson Button was saying on the F1 show that he was close to having the Ferrari seat, and it's a dream of 90% of children growing up into racing want to drive for Ferrari because it's so prestigious, it's so iconic, the red car. But I also think that part of it is we know that Hamilton is his idol was Ayrton Senna. And we know that Senna was offered a contract for Ferrari for 95 before he obviously passed away. I part of me thinks that this is Hamilton wanting to sort of finish that sort of legacy and fulfill sort of the dream that his idol couldn't.
Can I say another thing? That
Yeah, go
it's
for it.
kind of like the it's something I thought of. It's the reverse Schumacher as well, because it's instead of Ferrari to Mercedes, he's done the Mercedes to Ferrari kind of thing. He's done the opposite of what Michael did as well. So there's kind of that connection as well, I thought.
And then Ryan, we know that Hamilton could potentially win his 8th title if he does. Just how special would it be for him to win that at Ferrari, overtaking Michael Schumacher's record that he's currently held, that obviously won so many of them, all of them with Ferrari?
Well, we're not going to find that out this year because that's not this season, that's the season after. So we have a long wait before we can even think about that. And
Yeah.
depending on how we see the development of this year's Ferrari in terms of how much they're holding back, if they hold back a lot this year in terms of not showing big development throughout the season, we know they've been working on something big for the technical change. So well, obviously it's not going to be this year either. The technical changes until 2026. Hamilton's coming in 2025, but you'll see the evolution even this year because Red Bull, I guarantee Red Bull have already started on 2026 at this point. They started on 2026 10 years ago. Red Bull, they've been waiting to close this gap. There's this tight to Mercedes for years, and now they have the gap. I'd say we're going to see Red Bull for another year and a half. This year's definitely probably going to be another Red Bull washout. But I do think we're going to see some surprises. I've forgotten what your original question was.
Win the 8th title with Ferrari.
Yes. Yes, it would be nice to see it. Yes, he would be equaling one of the all-time greats of Mr. I almost said McIntyre.
The absolute legend is Michael McIntyre.
Michael Schumacher. Well, yes, hello everybody. No, to see Lewis win with Ferrari, even just a race with Ferrari, that's going to be up there for him. If Lewis Hamilton wins in Italy and manages to then win the championship and to secure the constructors for them, this will be like the first time in it was
since 2007, Kimi Räikkönen.
2007, Kimi Räikkönen, and then 2008 for their last constructors, wasn't it? Yes, I did look. Everyone's just going to explode. The Tifosi is just going. The whole world's just going to be streets of red. It's like, who's this walking through? Northern Ireland. What's going on here? Yes, Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hi. Sorry. I forget what was it? It was in my head. Here we are. So do you reckon now, thinking about it, he's probably unquestionably the most popular driver in F1 history, like from the point of view at circuit attendance interested in him. I can't think of a better way to say that, because obviously he's very popular in Brazil most of the time. He's very popular in the UK, as you'd expect. Yeah, and then now he's going to be probably very popular in Italy and Imola as well. So like going around each venue, it's like, is he probably one of the most supported drivers in history at a venue or multiple venues? I don't know how to say a
and
way
the
to say
USA
that.
and the USA. That's because the Americans only know Formula One for Hamilton.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the only driver currently in the grid that can challenge that in any way is Max Verstappen. But I feel like what this move has done is, I think it goes back to the Vettel era where Hamilton fans were Mercedes and didn't like Ferrari and didn't like Vettel, and I feel like a lot of opinion changed whenever Vettel went to Aston Martin. It sort of took a more he's quite a nice guy actually. He's a good driver, and the sort of Ferrari, not hatred, but like the rivalry there went away whenever Ferrari basically weren't a challenger at all. All of a sudden, those ones that were wearing Mercedes tops 2014, 15, 16, so on, are now going to be wearing red next year that are Hamilton fans, and Silverstone next year will be a sea of red.
Oh damn!
Oh my
damn.
yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
Oh,
Just like get
no.
the camera views
no.
of the track. It's gonna be you're not gonna ever see so
It's
much red
like-
there.
It's just like
It's-
everyone holds like white tops, and
Yeah.
there's like the second a red flag comes out.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
the whole track's just red flag.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
dear, oh,
I think
dear.
your point, Tom. Yes, I think given that he's now going to bring down the full Tifosi with him as well,
Yeah. Oh my god.
it's gonna be insane.
It's
And we
seriously
didn't
in
really,
red. Sorry. It's seriously in
Yeah.
red. That's gonna be insane. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
be a whole different kind of
And
like
it's not even gonna be
view
Lewis
of the
supporters.
circuit.
It's not even gonna be
Yeah.
Lewis supporters of Ferrari, because do you remember
Yeah.
the saying that was once said? Even if you are not a Ferrari fan, you are a Ferrari fan.
Oh no. We didn't, the point you said, Ryan, we didn't really discuss on. We'll go on to briefly the merchandise side of things.
Oh no!
We know Hamilton's big into his fashion, but yeah, Ferrari looking at this going,
they're smiling.
they can pay Hamilton 40 million, 45 million, or whatever it is. They can make that back within a few weeks, because he's gonna the sales of Ferrari merchandise are gonna go through the roof, because there's gonna be at least 15 caps throughout the year. If he continues with those Mercedes.
Probably about 7 different special T-shirts every time that they get a slightly new Lewis Hamilton cross with whoever sponsors he brings over. Wonder will he bring Monster?
So like on the McLaren, I was going to bring that up. The Monster
does he
Energy
not
leaving
still
Mercedes
have it?
makes sense.
Does
No,
he? I
Monster
thought
have
he still
left
had a personal
Mercedes.
sponsor though.
No, it's gone to McLaren. He might actually, it might still be the personal point of view.
I was going to say, because otherwise, why would they have brought out a new drink?
Yeah, the Ferrari. I'm just actually going to look up who their current sponsors are, their official partners. Oh,
Ray-Bans,
Lewis Hamilton, Ray-Bans.
Marlboro,
Yeah.
Shell.
Also, it does bring back Lewis Hamilton potentially appearing in Santander adverts.
Oh no!
Anything you
Him
can
and
do,
Jensen
man.
Button, those were awful. No, we've got Anton Deck now. We've Anton Deck.
Yeah.
The bank of Anton Deck.
Bank of Anton Deck. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
just looking at the current official partners: Puma, Shell, Santander,
Mhm.
Does that mean
Richard Mille.
I was gonna say, if we have a Shell advert, does that mean we can have one of those adverts where you just like start, the one with the Schumacher and Vettel have done, where they just like fill people's
Petrol
cars
station.
up from?
Yeah.
We just can get one of them now. Like,
I'm
look, it's
personally
me,
hoping
Lewis Hamilton. Hi, wow,
There's
I filled
just
your
going to
car
be
up.
cardboard cutouts in every petrol station. There's also Peroni.
That's new.
Yes, they've gone from Aston Martin.
Yeah.
They brought us the lovely cars on the tour last year. Remember?
They did, yeah. Giorgio Armani. And then Bang & Olufsen, the audio brand.
Do they not have one of those dodgy Bitcoin brands? No.
I don't think they do. No. And NGK spark plugs.
Oh yes, the greatest spark plugs of all time.
Wow, I love my MGK spark plugs.
NGK.
Oh, what is it? MBK?
MGK.
MGK. Okay.
LMNGK.
LM. It's gone. It's gone. I give up.
N for November, Tom. November.
LNGK.
No, it's just NGK. I was trying to spell the alphabet for you, and today was N.
Oh
no!
Actually, I take back what I said about the Bitcoin. They've got Bitdefender.
Bang! And Tom is gone.
Oh, is it? No, is it Bitcoin? It's Bitdefender provides. No, I'm wrong.
That's cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Take that back. Apologies to Ferrari.
Like this is a Bitcoin sponsor for them.
They've also got Riedel. We use Riedel panels at work. It's pretty
No
cool.
idea.
I'm just
Audio
they're not-
panels.
Oh.
But yeah, right. Let's round this video out. And podcast. This is also the first episode of Just No F1 Podcast Season 5 as well. Ryan and Tom, sorry, Tom, your final thoughts. Actually, before I come to that, we obviously don't have predictions to do, but I want one word answer.
Mhm.
Where's Sainz going to go, and who's going to replace Hamilton and Mercedes? I'll start with you, Tom, on the spot.
Audi.
First game.
Science Audi.
Okay. Yep.
What was the next one? Who replaces Hamilton and Mercedes?
Yeah.
Vesti. I don't know, just because it's different.
Okay. Yeah, Ryan.
Aston and Schumacher.
Okay. And I'm going to go for Audi after a year out and Norris.
I've got a question. Does he go and
Go
do
for
WRC?
With his dad.
Oh, if he
That-
doesn't do Dakar next year, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah. No,
with
but
his
like,
papa.
obviously his dad's got WRC. Like, he is one of the greats of WRC.
Yeah.
So, does Science go? You said about the year out. Could he have a year out to do WRC?
Very
Kimi
Kimi
did
Räikkönen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But, well, that definitely a interesting day of news. It's been a long day following all of this from early this morning, the confirmation, well, unofficial confirmation that this was happening to 7 o'clock. The releases come dropping into the inbox. Ryan, Tom, final thoughts before finishes out. Starting with you, Tom. Any final things to say?
I really hope the cars are good this year, please, competitive racing, please. For just please.
Mhm.
But just for our enjoyment, this is fantastic news for F1. Well, not fantastic news, not for everyone in F1, but it's a big story. Let's try and back it up with some good cars going around in circles instead of a
Yeah.
procession.
We
Well,
don't do
everyone's talking
circles.
about it today.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, we don't do circles, Tom. There's no
Oh,
such
yes.
thing as circles.
No, that's IndyCar.
We do abstract ovals. Okay, we do abstract ovals.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Right, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are: why couldn't they sign me instead?
Well, that's the news. Oh my gosh, Ryan to Ferrari or Mercedes or whatever. Williams, yeah. To 8. Yeah.
Yeah, that's buy as the water.
Okay. Other water brands are available. Yeah. So that's what was the news. Lewis Hamilton is joining Ferrari for the 2025 season. Ryan, Tom, thank you for joining me. Thank you to everyone for watching / listening, wherever you've got this. We'll be back very soon with episode 2 of Just No F1 Podcast, because we are approaching launch season, one of the busiest times of the year, and it's very nice of all the teams to condense everything down into a 2-week period for us, which is just going to cause loads of work and loads of chaos. But hopefully we get some nice new liveries. And what is Ryan trying to do?
Oh my gosh, it's
Wally.
Wally.
Okay. We'll leave this one here. Brian, Tom, thanks for joining me. Thanks to everyone for listening, and we hope you can join us in the next one. Goodbye.